We rely on scientific instruments to show us a world we can't see, right? But that trust, it has to be earned. Today, we're going to go under the hood of an incredibly precise machine to see exactly how it proves it's telling the truth.
So here's the big question. We have these amazing instruments that can literally map out the structure of molecules. It's incredible stuff. But what if the machine is just slightly out of tune? The data it spits out could be misleading or maybe just flat out wrong. So how do we build that confidence? How do we know it's telling us the truth?
All right, let's meet the star of our show today, the Oxford Instruments X-Pulse. This is a BenchTop NMR spectrometer. Now, NMR, that's nuclear magnetic resonance, is this powerhouse technique that lets scientists see a molecule's chemical fingerprint. And this machine, it puts that power right on the lab bench, making it more accessible than ever before.
This right here is why instruments like the X-Pulse are such a total game changer. For a long time, NMR machines were these massive beasts. They needed entire rooms, super-cooled magnets with expensive liquid cryogens, a whole ordeal. This little guy changes all that. It has a permanent magnet, uses standard lab tubes, and you can pretty much set it up anywhere. It really opens up the technology to so many more people.
So where does this whole verification process even begin? Well, before you can trust the results, you have to trust the machine itself. And it all starts with its heart, the magnet. Let's dive into Section 1, tuning the magnet.
So everything in NMR depends on having this incredibly uniform magnetic field. I mean, it has to be perfectly smooth. If the field has any little bumps or dips, the signal gets all distorted. So the very first thing you have to do is smooth out that field. That process is called shimming, and it is the absolute foundation for getting any reliable data. So how do you tune a magnetic field you can't even see? You need a reference point, a yardstick. For this, we use a sample of doped water. It's basically just water with some stuff added, so it produces a super clean, well-understood signal. The machine then uses this known signal to adjust itself. It's kind of like a musician using a tuning fork to tune their guitar.
And here's the cool part. The process itself is actually incredibly easy for the user. You just pop in the doped water sample, fire up the software, and click Coarse Shim Overnight. This is a perfect example of how modern software automates what used to be a really complex manual job. You just tell the machine to do the hard work for you.
And this is what you'd be looking at inside the SpinFlow software. You select the process, and the system gives you a little heads up, hey, this could take 4 hours. It's a total set it and forget it kind of thing. You kick off the process, go home for the night, and you come back in the morning to a perfectly tuned instrument. That patience really, really pays off. Of course, before it spends hours doing its thing, the software does a quick check. This little NMR signal detected message is the first checkpoint. It's the machine basically saying, okay, I see the doped water, I hear that tuning fork, now I'm ready to get to work. It's a simple step, but absolutely vital to make sure everything's good to go. Okay, so the magnet is tuned, the field is perfectly uniform, we're in good shape. But how do we actually measure the performance? How do we put a number on good? That brings us to Section 2, where we're going to be defining the signal. All right, the single most important number here is the signal-to-noise ratio, or SNR. See, every electronic measurement has some random background noise. The SNR tells you how strong your actual signal, the data you actually care about, is compared to all that noise. The higher the SNR, the clearer the picture. It's really the main way we measure how sensitive the instrument is. Let me put it this way. High SNR is like hearing your friend whisper to you in a quiet library. The signal is strong, the noise is low, you get the message, no problem. Low SNR? That's like trying to hear that same friend whisper from across a loud rock concert. The message just gets buried in the noise. And in science, that kind of uncertainty is a huge, huge problem. Another key piece of the puzzle is the P90 pulse width. Think of it like this. To get a signal, the machine basically shouts at the sample with a radio pulse. The P90 is the perfect length for that shout. Not too short, not too long, to get the loudest possible echo back from the sample. Getting that timing just right, down to the microsecond, is absolutely crucial for getting the best possible signal-to-noise ratio. All right, enough with the theory. Let's see how all this plays out in the real world. We're going to look at an actual service report for an X-Pulse. This brings us to Section 3, the before test. This quote from the report just sets the scene perfectly. A service engineer shows up and the instrument has been totally powered down because of a lab-wide shutdown. I mean, this is the perfect test case, right? The machine is cold, its settings might be off, it needs a full checkup from scratch.
So after getting the machine up and running, the engineer runs an initial test on the proton signal, that's the 1H. And the result? A signal-to-noise ratio of 76:1. Now, is that good? Is it bad? Right now, it's just a number, but this is our baseline. This is our before picture. And now for the payoff. After the engineer does all the maintenance and calibration, the shimming, optimizing that pulse width, they run the tests again. Welcome to Section 4, From Noise to Clarity, the after. And there it is. The proton signal-to-noise ratio is now over 122:1. That is a massive improvement. The signal is way, way stronger and clearer compared to the background noise. This is the direct result of careful, methodical work.
Seeing it on a bar chart like this really makes the impact obvious. This isn't just some small tweak. It's a huge leap in performance. We're talking about a signal that's over 60% stronger than it was before. This is the difference between maybe seeing a result and knowing you're seeing it. This table gives us the whole story. We see that huge jump in the proton, or 1H signal, and check this out. The machine is now sensitive enough to get a great SNR for carbon-13, which they didn't even measure before. And notice that P90 pulse width? It's a tiny adjustment, just over 1/10 of a microsecond. That's that final, precise bit of fine-tuning. But most importantly, look at the magnet temperature. It's rock solid. That proves the core of the machine is perfectly stable. So, here's the real takeaway. This whole process, it's not just about hitting some numbers on a spec sheet. This is the very foundation of trustworthy science. It's how you make sure that the faint signal from a new molecule isn't just random noise. It's how you turn ambiguity into clarity. And clarity, that's what leads to discovery.
And this is the final verdict from the service engineer's report. It's a simple sentence, but man, it carries a lot of weight. It's the official stamp of approval. It means this machine is now ready to produce reliable, high-quality, and trustworthy data for the scientists who depend on it every single day.
So we've just seen this incredibly meticulous process for one single instrument. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible checks and balances, what other reference standards and calibration routines are quietly working in the background to make all of modern science even possible? It's definitely something to think about.